Hello everyone, welcomes into my channel Everything PS, with UMD. In this today tutorial, I am gonna talk about one of the best video editing softwares, Wondershare Filmora 9. We will talk about everything inside the software. We're going to talk about anything. We're gonna talk about a title transition split screen effects unit. In this video is going to be intense. You might want to pause, you might want to take notice, you might want to rewatch sections. We're gonna teach you everything you need to know about Filmora 9. In the description below you will find a link not only to Filmora 9 where you can download a 30-day free trial or purchase the software. Here we are inside Filmora 9. First things first, we need some media to work with, so let's import some. Click on that big icon in the middle of the media window, select our media assets, click open. And there we go. Lovely, here we have our media organized by video, images and audio. Click on the little icon, you can sort your files by name, generation, type, date created, so on. And so on. You can also click on the filter. I couldn't separate the media by videos, images and audio, but for now, we'll just leave it with all displayed. Before we start dragging clips down onto the timeline, let's get our bearings first. Here are inside the media browser. Up here we can also switch into our old browser, our titles browser, transitions browser, effects browser, elements browser, which is a bunch of cool badges and animations that we can employ. Analysts, our split screen browser, which we'll get into later. At the upper right hand side of the phone, more than 9 interfaces. We have the preview window. If you double click on any of the assets in the media browser, it will preview in the previous windows. Click on this button to start and stop playback. You can also move playback backward and forwards. One free my time for precision editing. Over at the right hand side we have a timer, so if we click on those buttons again, you will see the timer move forwards and backward by 1 frame at a time. It can be a lot faster to do this with the keyboard, so press spacebar to stop and start playback. And if you want to move the playback forwards back with 1 frame at a time, use the left and right arrows. Know all of these keyboard shortcuts work not only up in the preview window, but down in the timeline also, so get familiar with them, because you are going to be using them a lot. Before start dragging clips, don't start cutting and building out or edit. I want to show you a slightly more refined approach. You may wish to make double click on the first of the login, click, and it opens up in the preview panel there. I want that bit at the beginning there, press I to mark the start point. Now look at that little bracket that's put on the timeline. There still is play forwards and see the end point. And we will stop the playback around the back there. All 4 dot, and there we have a little close bracket marker. Note when we drag this video, click down onto the timeline that we identified up there in the preview panel. Let's play the clip to see if it starts and stops correctly. We play. Yep, it starts exactly when we wanted it to our endpoint. Now you can see in the media browser handles will take showing that the clip has been used in the project. Let's see what we've got in clip number. So we need to get rid of the beginning of this clip. Now there are numerous ways of doing this. The first way is just to click on the little scissors icon there in the middle of the clip. Do so, you'll see it splits the clip selected, but we want to get rid of and hit backspace, it is gone. Let them do that and we'll try again with the second method with the plat head, where we want to click to start, simply drag the clipping from the site to meet the play head. That portion of the clip is now gone, super easy. But if we undo that, we can also just click on the little scissors icon there and it makes cuts. Now rather than drag the playhead back to the beginning of the clip to see, for me to get cut, use the up or down arrow keys to look at the playhead at the beginning or end of any given clip. Never miss, press spacebar to preview that clip. Now we've got 3 clubs down on the primary storyline over the timeline. Something you'll want to do all the time is a man, and soon, right, we have a little slider here for doing just that. You can zoom in and zoom out. You can also press and plus and minus on the keyboard. Back is my own preferred way of doing this. Dragging left and right on the table in there at the top also performs the same function. Rearranging clips is super easy. You simply grab and hold and then pull them around to your heart's content there. With the quick selected, you can see we have some more options here. What's a little icon that looks like a speedometer? Adjust speed. Click on that. We have a bunch of options. We can set custom speed, we can slow the clip dying, we can speed up, we can return to normal speed, we can freeze frame. But in this instance let's click reverse. We now have our edited piece on the timeline, But that doesn't look right, is far too big. We want it to feature in the top left or top right corner of our footage. Now you see this all the time in Filmora 9. Double click on anything in the timeline, access more options. Here we have been U, or do motion and color. We'll stick with the video parameters here, and we can pull backward on the scale, slider to reduce the size of that click on the clip itself. You can pulling these handles to resize on the X and Y axis, but we don't want to do that here. You can also put in this little circular handle to rotate the image again. We won't bother doing that here. Click and hold on the image to drag around and reposition it within the frame. Let's see how this comes up. To move the playhead to start, press spacebar. That pops. Okay. But in particular, like the way the clip just appeared, so let's see if we can do something about that. Double click on the click to bring up all the options, and look, there's a motion tab, a whole bunch of preset motion options that we can apply to that click. Double click, zoom in with the clip selected, and look, there you can see it zooms in. It's quite good, but let's try another one. Well, double click on that space by typically. And it comes loose quite a good. Note, I think we'll leave it at that, but you can play around with these to your heart's content. Here we are said the transitions browser, and Filmora 9 very generously gives us loads of these to play with, many of them very good. Double click on each one to watch a preview inside the preview window. Let's open the video with a faded from blacks. We'll drag the transition down onto the stock clip, and you can see there a visual depiction of the transition that we've just added. This played out to see what we've got, and you can see now that it fades in from black. Excellence. I think that was a little bit too slow, so ND+ to zoom in. In Filmora 9 you can double click on that transition to view all available parameters in the transition browser. In this instance we can set the exact number of frames for that transition. We don't need to do that just now, so let's just click OK. Here we have a hard cut between two login clips, and it looks absolutely fine, looks consistent and looks good, but for the sake of example, let's find a jazzy transition to try. Scrolling down, let's try around zoom and double clicks on it for preview. Looks kind of cool, so I think we'll drag that down between the two clips, and there you can see the visual depiction of that transition on the timeline. This press plate. Let's have another shot. Browse through the transition burrows and have a go at when we'll drag that one. Don't give that a go. Space bar to play. Okay, let's leave that one on for the time being. I think it is nice to have a title that introduces my name, so let's think it's a real strength of Filmora 9 for giving us so many usable titles that are infinitely customizable for more than 9. Keeps quite a lot of the stuff online, so if you look at this lower third 10 you see that little icon there, downwards arrow. Double click on that to download it into your system and double click on it for a preview. Yeah, I think that one looks quite nice. Examples. Let's work with that. Drag that down onto the time as you would any clip into the position where you want to be, this being Filmora 9 just like the clips themselves, or the transition is a double click on the title to open up a whole bunch of extra parameters up there in the title browser and type in strip Carol into the textbooks. Take a look at what we've got. Click on the next piece of text and we'll tape. We'll double click on that title again. You can see more of the options. Transform compositing as an advanced option, where in this instance you can adjust the timings of the fade-ins and so on. Indeed, if you hit on something that you really like, gore cross and save as custom, this will give you a title preset that you can use again and again. Let's drag a second one. Don't want to talk the same place as the first title, but this time we will mute the first title. See that little I button there? Let's just click on that and change the track. This allows us to work your way on the second option without necessarily deleting the first one, so we can always revert back to the first one if we don't like the second one. So we'll go ahead, change all the parameters of the second title, change text, drag around, so on. And so forth it comes. Yeah, I think it does actually look bad in this instance, so this time around let's go back to media track and we would just go ahead and delete it. Open the media browser, let's find our music, drag it down onto the timeline below the video tracks, and there you can see a little musical note depicting that we are on a music track. Where that, and if we decide that the music is too loud or too quiet we can adjust the volume. By dragging on the volume lane, there you have it. We'll just cool that down a bit, in this case to -10 decibels. For the sake of this demonstration we also have little handles here that allows feeding in the old U track. You can do this on film music track like you see here, or on the audio track test of video clip. This being Filmora 9, you guessed it, double click on that music track to access more options. Fade in, fade out, we can change the pitch. We have an equalizer in here, so we can play around with the various frequencies that make up the audio track. Particularly useful function is remove background noise. If we have wind noise, air conditioning noise, road noise, all that kind of stuff, try the DNRs, or it can be very effective. Now let's add a sound effect to the title we have added. Go to the audio browser and let's search for a nice sound effect. Go down here. I think this laser shot is fine. Double click on it to preview. Cool one. Now drags and drop it in the right place of the sound effect. I think this place is at the beginning of the title. Now let's see the result. It is okay, but we have to lower the music a little bit. Let's see. Nice one. Just like videos, you can add photos to your edits. Let's drag a full to dine onto our titling, and as you can see it's a bit too small for the aspect ratio of our video, so you guessed it, double click on it, access more parameters and drag that scale slider up so it fits the frame. The split screen presets here in Filmora 9, so let's click on the split screen, but I was there, and we see a whole bunch of options. Let's try this one, split screen 4, drag it onto the timeline. Sim functionality is bringing down video clips, photos, music center, and you can see we have a whole bunch of options up here in the split screen browser. You're free to investigate those as you wish, but for now, let's click on the media tab and drag some photos across into those predefined frames. Let's use these photos that I took a while back. We want to resize some of these. You can see the not quite fitting, so just click on each one and drag the slider to resign. Let's try I look it back and it comes. I love the split screen presets. In the Elements browser window we have some really nice animations that we can add to our films. To browse through all of these, but for the night let's go with this icon. Click on the little download area, you can see it coming in. I will drag it down onto the timeline, same functionality as before. And you guessed it, double click on it and we get access to a whole bunch of parameters. Let's resize it, makes a little bit smaller, drag up into the center of the frame. Let's try a little bit by moving the playhead to everyone, the cut mark to be hit, though says delete the bit that we no longer wants. Okay. Let's move the plant to the stock and press play, and it comes in, it pops up nice. That was a bit short, so I think I'll extend that. I didn't like the way it just disappeared right there at the ends with drag and transition down and dissolve which of it. In the FX browser, this is where we can get really creative. There's a ton of presets in here, many of them very good. Disappeared right there at the ends with drag and transition down and dissolve which of it. In the FX browser, this is where we can get really creative. There's a ton of presets in here, many of them very good. A double click on each one for a preview. In there we can see we've got a very strong look. If in doubt, err on the side of caution. You don't want to ruin all your hard work with a silly preset, but nonetheless go ahead and have some fun. Here's a nice bad TV example that you can play with. As for modifying the colors of your clip, one option is to double click on that clip and identify that color tab. You'll see we have some color enhancement options, some white balance options we can make towards adjustments, so for the purposes of demonstration, let's pull on that contrasts later. You can see the picture of me changing quite dramatically, can mess about with the saturation as well. Okay, that's a little bit too much. I think you'd agree with a real feature that I enjoy on Filmora 9 is the built-in Aleph lookup tables, the preset looks that modify the colors of an image in their set here, according to various TV shows and movies. I really like them, and you can also import third-party lots, which are a function previously reserved for more advanced software. In terms of more advanced color adjustments, so that the clip and click on that little color palette here, we have pretty much everything we could need for color correction, and color grading is a bit intimidating if you're new to this, but if you're more advanced, and it's good to know that you have this functionality here, we can collect the shadows. If we decide that the image is a little bit underexposed, but we don't blow it goes highlights, we just adjust those shadows specifically. We could move that black point down as well. You can see the way the histogram moves there as well, so you can really do everything you need to HSL. You can target colors individually. Look at the grass and the greens in the trees, where we can take them up into the greens, we can bring them down into the origins. You can really play around and create your own looks. Is seriously impressive stuff for an entry-level piece of video editing software. So big thumbs up to For More Than 94 incorporating that. Now that we're done, let's explore our masterpiece. Click the export button, and you can change all the parameters from the file name to the destination folder. You can select as you wish. You can change the resolution, although in this case, we would just change it to 8K. You can also change the file format. And will be an MP4, will get you where you want to be most of the time, although we also have support for the newer H265 HEVC codec. If you wish, a whole bunch of presets depending on whether you're exporting to an iPhone, iPad, sword and so forth. Also, you can upload your video directly into YouTube. All you have to do is just sign in with your Gmail. And here also the same for Vimeo. The export button is what your creation is exported and created, and then just sit back and enjoy. I hope you enjoyed it. If the video was helpful for you, to hit on the like button and subscribe. Don't forget to turn the bell button on so you don't miss the next videos. And if you have time to learn more, look at the old videos on the channel. See you in a new video soon. Goodbye.